Welcome to another episode of the All Tens Podcast. I'm your co-host, Josh West. With me, as always, Clay Harris. And today, Clay, we're being joined by a very special guest. He's a champion for founders and entrepreneurs. Throughout his career, he's provided strategic guidance and coaching to over 500 CEOs. Currently, he's the CEO of AI Daddy, a consulting firm that specializes in helping businesses leverage artificial intelligence to drive growth and innovation. Please welcome to the pod, Lucas Petty. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Josh.
This episode of the All Tens Podcast is powered by Streti, the EOS software people love. With EOS Pure Tools, plus additional collaboration and communication tools, you can run on EOS and execute on daily work all in one place. Learn more at Streti.com. That's STRETY.com. Let's go back to before you were the CEO of AI Daddy. Tell us a little bit more about your professional background and then leading up to what led you to AI.
Yeah, so I've had over 10 years of experience working in operations, whether that's operations consulting or being the head of operations at different startups. That was my background. I also did a short stint in M&A. And right before I started AI Daddy, I was in the process of launching my own startup. Really excited, had invested. At that point, I don't know, maybe like 40 grand. It was no small amount. It was everything that I kind of had saved up for, a potential new venture. And then a friend gave me early beta access to ChatGPT before it came out in, 2022? So I believe I got it 2021. They can't say who, but they are an employee of OpenAI. So I just got really, really lucky. And I went, excuse my French, but holy shit, this is going to change everything. And more importantly, this is going to kill my business. I realized it was completely obsolete. It was a tech startup subscription platform to all the tools, resources, SOPs that we had gathered over a decade of best practices for launching and growing startups. But why the hell would you pay me a $10, $20 a month subscription when you can have a tool like ChatGPT or Claude completely tailor it to your needs, right? So I just realized everything that I was doing, it was a sinking ship. It was I could have kept focusing on it for a little bit, but ultimately I didn't go to sleep that night. I first tried ChatGPT. And the next day I told the team, I'm sorry, but we're going to have to shut it down. I don't know what's next, but I literally pulled a plug. I didn't try and figure out how to sell the thing. I realized I have only so much time to figure this out. And yeah, that next day, it was like on a Friday. And so I spent that weekend trying to figure out my thoughts, figure out what I wanted to do. And I just realized I don't know. So I did what any reasonable millennial would do. I made a TikTok, Josh. I made a TikTok because I thought none of my friends, I hadn't used social media in 2 years. And I thought none of my friends use TikTok. None of them are going to see me making embarrassing videos. Why TikTok? Because when you look at how we learn, how we grow the fastest, it's not by reading about it. It's not even by just doing it. It's by also being able to teach and explain and help others. So I just saw that and I read, I need to activate and work at the highest level of sharing everything that I'm doing, be held accountable. So I made a TikTok. And after 30 days, I had over 30,000 followers. And I had friends from all over the world going, I saw your TikTok. So my plan backfired. But It led to a fun journey. I got paid to learn how to use almost every AI tool that you know today, at least the big brands, all paid me to test their tools, to promote them for a while. And that whole time, I was just trying to figure out, what the hell am I going to do in the AI space? Am I going to do a ChatGPT wrapper? Or, like everyone else? Or like, am I going to do a SaaS tech platform, or what is it going to be? And I noticed one trend, which was every month, every quarter, hundreds of AI startups were popping up. When I started, but over 5 years ago, there was less than 100. Well, there was exactly 178 AI tools that I could find that were B2C. Now there's tens of thousands, if not more. But every month, every quarter, I'd see hundreds of AI startups get launched, and just as many disappear, because all it took was one enterprise player, one company, to acquire one of them. And then why the hell would you go to a no-name startup instead of that one platform that you already know and love and has all the other things that you need for your work, right? So this whole story just to say I went through that crazy roller coaster to eventually realize, bridging the gap between the technology and businesses, what I naturally fell into through social media and teaching other people what these tools were capable of, is how I ended up building AI Data.
I saw on the site, Lucas, that you focus on trades.
Yeah.
Where did that come from? Is that like how did you find that kind of specialty?
You want me to give you the secret sauce? The blue ocean, for all the people who are also AI consultants. I think.
Oh, you don't have to.
Yeah, no. I'll tell you. Of course, it's part of the fun. I don't believe that there's a pie to be fought over here. It's growing exponentially.
Right.
When we started 5 years ago, marketing agencies, marketing departments, marketing people are always the earliest adopters. Those were our earliest customers, easiest ones for us to get. Then it turned into a lot of leadership development, a lot of leadership advisors, strategic partners came to us and said, "Hey, we want to hire you. We want to work with you." Along that journey, we've worked with over 35 different industries. And I don't know, it was maybe 2 years ago that it just hit me across the face. It just slapped me. It was such a big wake-up call. And every AI conference that I've gone to, every time that I'm speaking in a panel or there's people listening, trying to keep up with AI, almost always the question comes up, is AI going to take our jobs, and what jobs are safe, what jobs aren't? And everyone always says, well, the trades are safe. Blue collar jobs are going to be safe. And then everyone proceeds to completely ignore the answer because they don't want to work hard. I think, okay, that requires hard work. Let's ignore that. What can we do in the white collar industry?
Yeah, smart.
And what that all really means is the trade businesses are the best for AI adoption because they feel the least threatened. In every white collar business I've ever gone into, there's always people going, AI is going to take my job. I don't trust it. It's the Terminator.
Is there also something to those companies have been doing things the same way for a long time, right? And so not only are they not scared, but also, man, there's a lot of headroom there. Is that also fair?
Yeah, that plays a big factor, especially when you look at all the U.S. Census data. Average millionaire in the United States owns owns a blue collar business. And out of all entrepreneurs, the ones that have, there's a lot of tech startups. There's all sorts of different businesses out there, products, services, but the ones that usually get to the highest, well, they get to like mid-size, which is who we serve. It's usually trade businesses, and usually they're getting ready to hand off the company to next generation, or they're getting ready for their exit. It's kind of where a lot of people in the space are right now. So how do you rapidly increase the valuation, that exit, multiple, all those things? You sprinkle a little bit of AI. So,
and Lucas, that as EOS implementers, Clay and I both work with a lot of the trades, and a lot of our listeners are in those types of businesses. And so for our listeners out there where, yes, even if you're living under a rock, you've heard of AI. It has sucked all the air out of the room. It takes up all of the headlines, but they may just say, yeah, I'd like to do it, but I don't code and I'm not that technical. I have absolutely no idea where to start. What do you say to those people? Where should they start?
YouTube. I mean, you don't really need to pay for someone's course, for someone's workshop, for someone's for some guru. I mean, I generally don't say it as a joke. And more than anything, whichever AI tool you're using ChatGPT, you're using Claude, Gemini, they all offer free courses literally showing you how to use their tool and their platform and everything. You got those basics right, and you at least understand what these tools can do and can't do. Then pay someone to help you strategize and get to the next level, because it just really depends. When you say, where do you start? Are you referring to where do they start for their own quick journey education? Just go to YouTube or go to the courses for whatever tool you have. If you're talking about where do they start for scaling AI adoption across the organization, I'd recommend, I'm biased, but finding an AI expert, a partner that you trust, who's got a track record with the type of businesses that you like doing it. My only caveat there, even if you talk to me, talk to multiple people, because there's a lot of AI gurus and a lot of AI experts out there. They learn one dynamic of AI, because AI is kind of like the internet. It can go into every department, every function, every industry. It's not an easy thing to strategize and figure out and roll out. So you just want to make sure, as you're talking to different, we'll say AI strategists or consultants, that they fit the need, right? If your need is the rolling out and training your people, that's a trainer, that's a facilitator, that's a change management expert. If your needs are, well, I just want to automate our processes up the wazoo, that's an automation expert. Those are different things. Our service is a managed AI department, so we just build and roll out both those tracks and manage the tool setup. But yeah.
That was actually my exact question as on your website, and I like the framing of a managed AI department. I have a couple of EOS implementer buddies who are like, if you don't have AI either as a seat or as one of the roles of a leadership team seat, you're kind of failing right now. You present it as a managed AI department. So I heard three things. I want to make sure that our listeners hear that too. You're owning the tool set. So I assume when you say owning the tool set, you're owning things like privacy, security, along with, are we using the right tool? Those sorts of things, right?
Yeah. I'll give you an example in the text.
Yeah.
Ask your Ask a full question, and I can give you the
Yeah, well, the three things were manage the stack, manage the learning and like kind of organization wide rollout, and manage like specific projects to tackle specific problems. Is that
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. I love it. I love that framing. Go ahead. Where were you headed?
No, well, say 1 point to each one of those. On the people side, a lot of people right now are fine. A lot of companies right now are finally at the point where they're rolling out AI across the organization. But you know what they don't provide? Any training, any education, and they get frustrated that there's no real progress or upside on AI. Like I've yet to talk to any company that told me they made AI a mandate and everyone's forced to use it. And then I followed up with, how are you supporting them? How are you making them better at the tool? And they go, oh, we're not. I'm just saying, you can't expect to get that 10x productivity that all the AI tools promise. In reality, you might get a 2x at the end of the day, 2, 3x from your employees. And even then, that doesn't always happen because the rabbit holes that AI can send you down, because you can now unlock and do so many things so fast. If you don't teach them how to identify the right use cases, solve actual problems. I'm going to give you a great example of this. Had this conversation last week with the CTO of a $100 million company who told me that he was in charge of rolling AI across the whole organization. I got really excited, wanted to hear what he's been doing because he sounded really technical and like really smart dude. He proceeded to tell me how he spent the last 3 weeks building an AI agent to order snacks for the company. This is a person who's getting paid multiple 6 figures, and he dedicated almost an entire month to optimizing snacks.
Lucas, I'm not going to sit here and allow you to denigrate the automation of snack ordering because I actually am going to die on this hill. AI-powered snack ordering sounds like one of the best use cases I've heard yet. Anyway, just that's ridiculous. We all agree that's ridiculous. Sorry.
Yeah, he was a big guy. He probably had his priorities in order. Like he's a good dude. It's just, that's not to say that it's just the ease of going down those rabbit holes. And I'll say one more piece on the tech side, just to add extra context to that. The tech management piece, people think it's just about the security, the privacy, right? The IP, all the obvious stuff. There are layers and levels to how you can manage the AI tools, ChatGPT, Cloud, whatever you're rolling out to your team, to create more levels of security, not just for IP, but for your budget, your money. We see, at least me being in the AI space, every day I see a new headline of how enterprise companies spent their yearly AI budget in a quarter, in a month, or how startups are blowing through $200,000 in a weekend because they let AI vibe code over the weekend, and they ended up getting with a bill that kind of ended up just destroying their startup because they didn't have the money to pay for it. That type of crazy thing, there's so many more angles to managing the AI tech stack, restricting the token use, putting limits on those things. Again, that's part of the training. A lot of people say, hey, go build, go vibe code, go experiment, without realizing that there's a cost to that. It's not just speed.
Well, isn't this kind of like this idea of first things first? When I was running a 100-something person company as an IT company, we'd have clients come through. I mean, kind of two examples leading to the same destination. One of them is client would come through and be like, I was at a trade show and saw a great piece of software and like it's gonna fix all of our problems. And like, sure, like you can't keep people for more than 3 weeks because you pay people poorly. You're kind of all over the board. You're chaotic. Everything changes every week. We don't know who your priorities are, and you don't spend any time or money investing in your people. You can keep buying software all day, but if you don't have clear priorities and you don't know, like if you don't enable your people to make great decisions and do great work, it doesn't matter if you've got the best software in the world or a piece of paper and a eraser, it's still going to be shitty. Like you're just kind of throwing good money down at your, whatever that idiom is. You know what I'm saying? Like, right. And then on my side, when I was running a big company, people would come back to me and say, we just need this one tool. It's the same thing. I was like, one tool to do what? And they weren't clear on what the outcome was, like and so we just started having this rule. If you ever want to buy something new, you do not come to me with features, you come to me with outcomes. Like features, no one cares. Features are cool, but that's what they sell you. What I want to know is what's going to be different in the company and how that's going to be better. And I assume that you see the same thing.
Yeah. This is just human nature. Everyone tries to solve problems by addition, but the solution we always want and go for in the end comes from subtraction. Let me explain that. Like human nature is, I have a problem, I need to do more in order to solve it. But every bit of more that you add adds a layer of complexity that essentially makes it impossible to solve. And if we think of, and I use this in the business context of like niching down or just having one product, like when you solve by subtraction and you make the thing so simple, so great, so clear, like that's what some of the best companies in the world, your only choice is, do you want the best or not? Right? Like that's all there is to debate. And that came from them removing every friction point, taking care, like a lot of heavy work to get to solving a problem by subtraction and making things as simple and elegant as possible. But I say that because like I just had this conversation yesterday. So someone was telling me how they're rolling out ChatGPT, Claude, and Gemini across the company, all three of them. And that they're having a lot of problems and difficulty with adoption, with managing all of this, and people are resisting it. And I just had to ask one thing for them to get it. Would you ever have more than one CRM for your company? Would you ever have more than one QuickBooks, right? Like, would you ever have, you know by default, if you add 2 CRMs to a thing, it's going to create double the work. It's going to slow down everything. It's going to be a headache. Now, we're so early in AI adoption that naturally we're in the point where people are still shopping around, trying to figure out what they're going to commit to, what they're going to try, what they're going to do. So they're trying all the above. But once you decide you're going to commit to it, unless you're an AI company, a consulting company, or a developer, an IT person, there's very specific cases where absolutely use every AI tool under the sun to optimize your token spend and yada yada for developers, code, like people who are coding. But for everyone else, you don't make, like, how do you get the best output from AI? Everyone says you gotta become a better prompt engineer. You can shortcut that. You don't have to be a good prompt engineer. You can give the most horrible generic prompt to your AI tool if it has all the context. The only way it can have all the context is everyone's using it and putting the context in one place. If it lives across all your systems, it's going to slow everything down, and you're going to have to become the best prompt engineer in the world. Or like, yeah, I get passionate.
That was like the number one thing when I was picking like the tool I'm going to use for my practice is like which one has the most connectors to the tools that I use. Like that's the number one thing. Like because Claude is it for me because right now my CRM, my email, a third party calendar that I use, they all connect.
Yeah.
And they didn't connect to GPT. I didn't even look at Gemini, but like it connected. And that's so I think that's actually a great point. Sorry, Josh, I interrupted you.
No, it's okay. There was what I hear in that also is that the technology wasn't the issue there. It was the people making those decisions. And, there was something that I also caught on your site, and certainly something that relates directly to the world that Clay and I inhabit all the time. And that was that, 70% of the challenges that you found with AI are rooted in people and processes, not the technology. Yeah. And in our world, when we're working with clients and we talk about solving issues, and when we really get down to the root of it, one of the dirty little secrets in our world is that most of the time, just as you find, it's usually with people or a process. Can you say more about that in the work that you do?
Well, I can't say it better than who you knowingly or unknowingly are quoting. McKinsey Consulting, Boston Consulting, Deloitte, even OpenAI. Anyone who's listening can do a quick search and they'll say somewhere between 70 to 80%, depending on their study of thousands of companies, the biggest challenge that these companies are facing when adopting AI, only 10 to 20% is the tech and data side. 80-70% is on the people and processes side. So that should give you an idea of where to be focusing. And to give you another example, when people bring us in and they want us to do AI automation and automate a lot of those processes, redesign them, whatever it takes, what determines whether I can get it done in a week versus a month or two is the complexity of your tech stack. So just the other day, we finished a project that had taken us a couple of months back, about like a month and a half for a leadership development company, because they had 4 different project management softwares, because each one of their clients required that, they work for enterprise. So each one of their clients required them to use a different project management software. Connecting all that, getting all the rules, getting everything clear took forever. Completely different plumbing company running on ServiceTitan, having everything in one place, ServiceTitan and Broccoli. We were able to build and deploy a somewhat similar automation. I don't know, it took like 3 or 4 days. And the only difference is all the data, all the context lived in one place, and we didn't have to wait for different people to give us access to different tech and explain to us everything. We literally just built an AI agent, analyze all the data on ServiceTitan, figure out the issues, and then we deployed it just as fast. So, I mean, the insight there is clean up your processes, clean up your tech stack. Less is always more. We say it all the time, but no one ever believes it.
From your lips to our listeners' ears, boy, do I hope they hear that.
That's what I meant before by the solution is always subtraction.
Heard 100%. Yeah. I feel like some of our work is always just convincing people of that. Like they have to experience it a few times before they actually finally realize it. Because this is something from a training I was at recently, and it's tangential, but I think it's going to be my little nugget, because I love that the best solution is always through subtraction. There's a guy at EOS learning of it, and he was talking about the Latin root of the word priority, prioritas, and how in the recorded history of Latin there is not an example of the plural of prioritas. And I think it's just kind of like a good little example of like when you pick the important thing, there's not 30 of them. Maybe the Romans would even have said there's one. We're America, so we're addicted to productivity, and that's great and all those sorts of things. And so we have priorities. But anyway, I love it. That's a great idea. Josh, we're coming up on time here. And I want to make sure that we kind of give our listeners something. I want to do two things. Lucas, I'm going to give you a heads up before I take us out of the episode. I'm going to ask Josh first, but we always ask our guests. If the people who are listening today could do one thing next, one thing tomorrow, what's a little nugget to give them to just go make a little bit of progress coming out of here, or a great nugget or learning from the episode? Josh, I'll go to you, then Lucas.
My nugget that I really took away from Lucas is that it really isn't about so much of the technology and your data stack. We've got to come back to the people and the processes involved. And I know that's what Lucas really helps those leadership teams with, and ultimately have that successful rollout. We didn't have the opportunity to talk about a lot of the mistakes that undoubtedly Lucas has seen out there. We've had some conversations off camera, and I'm aware of that. And I'll defer the rest of my time to Lucas to help our listeners.
Cool. Lucas, before I ask you for a nugget or something to do next, for our listeners, how can they find you? What's the best way to connect with you if they have some questions or want to kind of brainstorm with you? What's the best way for them to get with you?
Yeah, they can connect with me on LinkedIn, Lucas Petty. They can go to our website, aidaddy.com, or email me directly, lucas@aidaddy.com. Happy to nerd out on anything AI. This is what I love. This is what I do every day.
That's awesome. Cool. And one nugget or action item for our listeners?
I think it just comes down to stop postponing. I don't know your AI needs. I don't know where you're at on your journey, but I do know that the only difference between those who achieve any level of greatness and first place and second place is just who did more. It's the quantity. I read this book over the weekend. Can't remember the name off the top of my head, but it was on the lives of all of history's most famous artists, whether musicians, sculptors, painters. And what was crazy to me is that all of them produced more artwork, more volume than anyone else in their lifetime, in their generation. Picasso, over 500,000 paintings in his life. Didn't use ChatGPT. But I say that because there's no shortcut to putting in the work and to getting that volume in so you actually become great at what you want. So no postponing.
Love it. Do something. Love it. Cool. Well, Lucas, that was great chat. Thank you so much for joining us today. That's going to do it for today's episode with Lucas. I'm Clay. He's Josh. We're both EOS implementers, and we love helping entrepreneurs build great businesses. Thanks for joining us on the Altens podcast today. Please rate and subscribe wherever you find your podcasts, and we'll see you next week. Bye, everybody.
Thank you for having me.
Bye.
Bye.